I'm Joyanne Haigh. We welcome our viewers and listeners to Face It and Fix It on CBC TV 8, CBC Barbados, Facebook and YouTube, and of course, Q100.7 FM radio. So before I introduce my guests, I want to share my thoughts with you. And first of all, I would like to thank all of you for your well wishes on my birthday, December 14th, when I turned the big 5-2. And our special thanks to Barvin, the Barbados Association of Retailers and Vendors. They sent a beautiful basket here at CBC, and I want to thank them so much for that. And of course, you can't forget your Facebook friends. Mind you, you can't ask your Facebook friends for $5 each, because then you recognize how many friends you do have. But the good thing about Facebook, it reminds everybody that you have a birthday coming up. So I want to thank all of the persons who went to Facebook and my IG page and to my WhatsApp and wished me happy birthday. I want to thank you so much for that. In addition, this morning, I went outside of my house to put some Clorox on the side of my step, and I'll explain why. There's a lime tree hanging over, and for some reason, I've never seen this before. Maybe someone can tell me why there was a whole set of flies on my step. It was power washed, but the flies were coming from the lime tree. And that never happened before in all the years I was there, and I was a little surprised I saw them yesterday. So I went outside this morning to put a big bottle of Clorox I had in my hand, and to sort of drop the Clorox on the step and try to sprinkle a little bit on the lime tree. So lo and behold, I fell down. I had on a pair of flat shoes, no heels, flat slippers, and I slipped. And one leg went this way, straight, and the other kind of buckled underneath me. Needless to say, I got up really fast, real fast. As fast as I went, no, I got up. I did not feel anything at the time, but I can tell you now, as I sit here in this chair, I'm in a bit of pain in my back. So if you see me scrunching a little bit on my face, you know that I fell down this morning. And needless to say, the Clorox bottle was still in my hand, holding it up in the air. For some reason, I did not drop that bottle, but I hit pretty hard. So I just wanted to share that with you, to be careful when you're walking around and outside is wet in slippers. And at age 52, I really didn't want to fall. In addition to that, I want to caution some motorists this morning on my way to CBC, actually right outside of CBC. I don't really want to share the vehicle number. I would probably share it with the traffic department of the Barbados Police Service. But the gentleman dead stopped right in front of me to pick up somebody. And I mean, he didn't slow down. He just went, dead stop to pick up a guy. And I nearly ran into the back of him. And I'm hoping that when you're driving around the highway, you know, pull over if you have to, but you can't stop, dead stop on the highway in order to pick up a person, because there are people driving behind you at a speed. And then obviously that's how accidents happen. Now today, of course, we want you to call. We do have segments for you to call our show. We encourage you to do so, or leave your comments on Facebook. And I'm hoping that you join us for this show, because it's a special show, like all of our shows, but extra special. We have today Dr. ADANNA Grandison, Acting President of BAMP, and she is going to speak about the Omicron variant. We also have my good friend GABBY, but we know that he is referred to as Dr. the Most Honorable Anthony Gabby Carter, and Dr. Grandison actually is referred to now after independence as Dr. the Most Honorable ADANNA Grandison. So she too, as I said earlier, she'll be joining us, and she will be speaking about the Omicron or Omicron, depending on how you want to pronounce it, the Omicron variant. And GABBY, my friend, will be speaking about his journey and how he battled COVID, because he had COVID and he wants to share his story with us. Of course, we want you to call us, 228-5562 or 228-5563. If you want to send us a WhatsApp message, it's 228-5562. And of course, join us on Facebook, type in CBC Barbados, and you can leave your comments there. Last week, we gave away 3 hams, I believe, in the parishes of St. Michael, St. Peter, and St. Thomas. I think the producer, I haven't delivered them yet, but we need to get the names. So I don't have those names. The producer has those names. So I want to encourage you to call us You never know what we have here on the show to give away. That was not planned, and the individual is an anonymous donor who wanted to do something, and so stay tuned because you never know what you can win or just get on this show to help. However, I had some concerns by some people who said, Joy, you can't just give hams and things to people who may not be in need. That is true. And I'm hoping that the people who want them, if you don't need it, maybe you will give it to someone. But moving forward in the show, and by next year, I'm sure we will put better things in place so that we make sure that the right people get. But hey, if you want, you call. And these are for the callers and for people who are watching the show and they want to share their concerns or even give us their ideas and solutions. We normally will give away things for that. So when we come back, we're going to take some of your calls, read some of your WhatsApps, and then go straight to our guests. We'll be back after the break. Welcome back to Face It and Fix It. We just want to correct a small little error. It's Dr. ADANNA Grandison and not the most honorable Dr. ADANNA Grandison. But we love her all the same, and she deserves all of the names and accolades anyway, in my opinion, because she's doing a fantastic job. We do have some WhatsApps that we want to read to you, but again, we remind you to call us on 228-5563 or 228-5562 with your concerns. And if you need some help or you know someone who needs some assistance, you can do so now by giving us a call. And we are now going to share a WhatsApp with you. It's a video. This is a burst, wow, a burst water fountain, they're calling it. It has been going on for nearly 3 weeks, despite being reported to the BWA on multiple occasions and multiple persons. Can you please put out an appeal for any sign of life at the Barbados Water Authority to attend? Please, it's in Harmony, St. Lucie. Now, this is a lot of water spraying everywhere. For the listeners who obviously may not get a chance to see what's happening, but we are showing you a burst in the parish of St. Lucie in Harmony, and the individual is asking for any sign of life at the Barbados Water Authority to please come and fix it. It has been reported, it said on multiple occasions 3 weeks ago, and no one. Wow, that's a lot of water. And in a time like this, Christmas, and we don't want to have too many outages, none at all if you can help it. That would then remind me to remind you, please make sure that you store water around this time. You don't know what happens at the BWA, and it's not necessarily their fault. Things can happen, ruptures can happen, pumping stations can fail. You need to store water, because the last thing you should want is to be lime and salting your turkey and pork, and then you can't wash it off. So you got to be able to store some water and make sure that you have a Christmas that you can enjoy, that you have water. Now, we know over the years, Water Authority has had some challenges around the Christmas time, in particular for the people of St. Joseph. Good morning to you. To people in St. Andrew, good morning to you, and parts of St. Thomas. And in St. Lucie in the north, you know, a big shout out to you. A reminder, please store water. And hairdressers, I had a concern shared with me a couple of weeks ago. Hairdresser ran out of water. Thank God she had finished washing out the straightener of the person's hair. But hairdressers, you need to store water. Just because you may not have outages on a regular basis does not mean it cannot happen. The last thing that you want to do is to have straightener in somebody's hair and then there's no water to wash it out. That can be a nightmare and a lawsuit waiting to happen. So we encourage you to make sure that you have some water. Again, if you do wish to call us, because we are going to start a guest soon, the number is 228-5563 or 228-5562. So far on the show, some of the things that we would have been able to accomplish would have been the oximeter pulse meters that we gave away. I know some of you are a little bit upset that you didn't get one, but we will get some more. We'll probably go at it again. We also have a tablet to give away, and I'm hoping to get, and I'm making this public plea, the Minister of Education, the Honourable Santia Bradshaw, on the show on Monday. So I'm going to put her on the spot right now because we're reaching out to her to join us on Monday, and perhaps we will be able to give away that tablet on Monday when she joins us and speak to us about back to school, because there's still some rumors, even though the chief came on and explained that school will start on January 10th. How that would look, it all depends on what has been happening here on the ground. So we encourage you to always log on. Don't be shy to call. There are people who call me after the show, and we get all of our messages after the show. You're not going to be seen on television. Some people feel that when they call, that you see them on TV in their curlers or in their nightgown. That is not so. That is only for our guests, that we show them to you. Callers is a regular call. Facebook, you just type in what you want, and you don't need to be shy. If you need help, the only way we can do that and help you is if you tell us what is happening in your neck of the woods and what you need assistance with. Now, last week, I mentioned about the crime situation. I also extended my condolences to the family, the Alkins family, and the passing of young Rico Alkins, and to Auli himself. Tragic, and we would like some answers. We want to hear from you, the public. What do you feel about the crime situation? What can we do? I mean, we keep talking about it and we're still seeing it, and are we doing enough? And I also want to mention, before we bring on our guests, Prime Minister Motley had a press conference yesterday, and she spoke about the nurses and the whole situation with the strike. Now, I don't have all of the details, and but based on what was shared with me, with the viewers and the listeners, I certainly am appalled really at what I heard. And I think that nurses, people have a lot of respect for nurses in this country. They do a fantastic job. But I'm going to speak general when I say this. We all need to be very careful of what we do and who we follow and the advice that we get. Sometimes it's not always the best advice, because I'm not quite sure if this is accurate, but it is being reported by the news, that quoting the act about no work, no pay, that there's a possibility that the nurses may not be paid for this particular action, and I think that is regrettable. And I'm hoping that they resolve this issue sooner rather than later. We are not animals. We don't need to behave like animals. We are human beings, and which means we get a chance to resolve issues. Man-made problems are man-solved. That's what I think. You know, and I think that we create a lot of unnecessary drama in a world where we've got a lot of problems. This is not the time, and especially when in the middle of a pandemic. I'm not saying that the nurses don't deserve whatever it is that is fair to them, but I'm saying that so far, and whoever wants to say I'm picking up for the government, go right ahead. But right now, what we see is a government that, yes, they make mistakes, yes, they make judgment calls, and they put something here and then they have to pull it back. But the good thing about life is that when they realize that they do something that may not be the right thing, they pull it back. Nothing wrong with that. Something is wrong though when you keep doing something and you don't know when you're wrong and you continue doing it. So kudos to the government, respect then to the Prime Minister for actually coming out. Yes, it was a long press conference, but explaining what it was, what was happening, and the best way forward. Now, I don't know unity very well in the unions, and the unions are not always right either. All of them, in my opinion, because they're human too. They make mistakes. Based on the information they get, they make a decision, and then sometimes you get more information and then have to change the decisions that they make. But at a time where patients need health care, we are in the middle of a pandemic, and there's a process to be followed, then one must follow that process. And I don't care what politician or which D's or B's or whatever, we, the Barbadian public, we need to make sure that we listen, and that when we make decisions, it is based on the right information, and don't just follow because somebody tells you this is the right thing to do or not. Yes, there are a lot of people out there who may not know, and they need guidance. And to the leaders in this country, whether you're a manager, a supervisor, a union leader, MP or whatever, you got to be mindful and think about the people. And yes, I agree with the Prime Minister, if this is about politics, it should not be about politics, because the livelihood and lives of people cannot be hanging based on, you know, how you vote and what you want and who you want to make look bad, and then people following you because they believe in you, and then you're carrying them down the wrong road. And I'm very, very passionate about that. I think for myself, I got to get my information, and then I make my decisions, and I welcome people who call me and ask me for my opinion, because they know I can do my due diligence. Do I always get it right? No, I don't. And in this show, we have some constructive criticism coming. We have some downright destructive criticism coming, but we take both. And on the note of constructive criticism, I want to say good morning to Walren for putting us on his page. And we took his comments, and he did not like certain things, and he thought that the show had great potential, and we listened. So I want to say good morning to Walren. Here we have now the changes that I would like to put up and share with you on the screen. The changes to the directive. And this is the Most Honorable Dr. Kenneth George, the Chief Medical Officer. Changes to the directive are as follows. The government will be allowing open air events. Vaccination and rapid tests will be required for promoters, artists, and stage crew for open air events. Patrons will be required to be vaccinated or a negative rapid test 24 hours before an event. There will be no vaccine mandate for events by government. However, it is at the discretion of the promoter. So government does not have any rules in place or policies in place regarding what you should and should not do as it relates to mandating a vaccine, but certainly the promoters can. And I don't know how that one is going to work out, but again, we have to try. All of us want to go back to normal. I certainly do. And I look forward to some of the open air events, obviously in a safe manner. When we come back, we will have Dr. ADANNA Grandison, and we're going to talk about that new variant and what we need to know about it when we come back. Welcome back to Face It and Fix It. We are now joined by Dr. ADANNA Grandison, Acting President of the Barbados Association of Medical Practitioners. ADANNA, Dr. Grandison.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Thank you. It's always nice to see you. Always nice to see you. Well, we can go get straight into it about this new variant, Omicron. I hear different pronunciations. What is it and how does it differ to the Delta?
So yes, we do have a new variant in this space internationally. We have not identified any cases of Omicron here in Barbados as yet. But essentially what this variant is, and I would have spoke about the possibility of viruses mutating or changing in an attempt to be able to survive from the very first presentation that we had. And this is exactly what this virus is doing. So we first got this virus detected in South Africa back in the second week of November. And because of its ability to infect persons at a very rapid rate, both the United States via CDC and WHO would have declared this as a variant of concern in late November for WHO, and then on the very first day of December, according to CDC. Certainly because this variant has the ability to infect persons at even a faster rate at this point in time, they're thinking that it's a faster rate than Delta. There is that concern at this point in time. However, this virus, there's still lots of stuff that is unknown about this virus. We've been hearing very preliminary data showing that this virus is showing mild presentation of disease. So persons generally not tending to get loss of smell or loss of taste, but more pronounced joint and muscle ache, that fever, and the general fatigue, almost mimicking what may look like the flu. And as you know, we're going into flu season. We're actually in the flu season at this point in time. So I want to say that in as much as it may present with a mild disease, certainly the index of suspicion needs to be there, even if you are not getting what we would consider your typical COVID symptoms. So at this point in time, because it is so early, it has many mutations, greater than 30 mutations within the actual spike itself, 52 mutations in total. And these mutations, because there's so many, essentially scientists are now trying to catch up internationally to be able to understand exactly how this virus truly will affect the actual human body.
So would you say that the Omicron is, even though it's more contagious, is it less deadly? Is it something that is more, anything that is more contagious or that contagious would be likely to be less deadly? Would that be accurate to say?
At this point in time, we don't have the data to support whether it is more deadly or less deadly. We know that we've recorded one COVID death in the UK from a patient who had confirmed Omicron positivity. However, these are still early days as it relates to this variant. What I would say, because it is the transmissibility of this virus is higher, and persons can get infected at a higher rate, what it can potentially do is overwhelm healthcare systems. Because here in Barbados, we essentially take any person who is COVID positive under the care of the government to be able to ensure that we can treat them as quickly as possible. And because we can get a very rapid rate of increase of persons who are positive if Omicron, or I should probably even say when Omicron comes to Barbados, because our source markets, the UK, the US, have increasing cases. I mean, up to yesterday, we had 78,610 cases documented in the UK in a 24-hour period. And so for that, we need to just, I think at this point in time, Barbados, more than anything, we need to probably operate as if there's Omicron already in the space. We don't need to essentially dismiss it because it is showing mild disease presentation, but just adopt an attitude of personal responsibility, especially going into this Christmas season. Ensure to to really protect yourself, walk around with your hand sanitizer, because I know there's going to be increased movement. You want to get your shopping in, etc. Hand sanitizers may run out at the door. So walk with your own hand sanitizer so that you continue to protect yourself. Certainly wear your face mask properly. Apart from being vaccinated, proper mask wearing has been shown to protect persons against COVID-19 disease. And so I want to encourage persons to continue to wear your mask and to wear it properly. And then certainly social distance. And especially during this Christmas season where we may be tempted to socialize with family, Christmas dinners, try to take that event outside. Restrict those numbers. Try to mitigate risk in terms of looking to see who may be vulnerable within the family group and try to protect them as much as possible. I know for instance, there are some families who have asked, should we test before or should we test after? And if you can, I would definitely say at the very least, get tested, know your status. I think that in Barbados, we really need to normalize status and get to know where you are in terms of your COVID status, but also for everyone who has that ability to get vaccinated. I think that now more than ever is the time to get vaccinated.
All right, so yesterday I had a discussion via the phone because I'm confused as to how do you know about all of these variants and what prompts science to keep testing? Is it that based on the behavior or the symptoms of a patient, then scientists would say, let's test Mary Jane Sue, and then discover that there's a change in the spike or the patterns? How do we come up with all of these variants? How do we know about them?
Right. Mm-hmm. So that's a very good question. There are two general mechanisms that are usually employed. So there is the surveillance mechanism where you're just monitoring what's happening. You're taking a statistical probability and assessing those samples to see if there's anything that you pick up by chance. Mm-hmm. And then certainly based upon the clinical presentation of disease. After this person tested positive, within a few days, what symptoms did they show? Did they have presentation early on? For instance, with Delta, we knew that persons generally will declare their hand most likely within the first 3 to 4 days of disease presentation, and we would start to see them having symptoms, usually presenting with the loss of taste and smell, and then going on to having sometimes more severe symptoms. So they actually declare their hand. However, as you continue to watch COVID positive patients at any disease presentation, you may notice a difference in the presentation of symptoms in terms of the timeline from when the person is confirmed positive to when they actually start to demonstrate symptoms, or even how the disease process changes over time. This is certainly something that we look at even here locally. If we have a person that's positive and instead of them presenting day 3, day 4, if they start to present like around day 8, we get concerned. Is this something new that we're dealing with? And it's really based upon clinical suspicion always, and really getting to understand that disease process. And there are scientists, thousands of scientists all over the world who have dedicated their life really to this COVID fight. And they not only assess and investigate these variants, but they also share it with the bigger scientific community on GIS aid. And I think that is very important in the scientific sense. Sharing of information helps us to move forward a lot faster so that we know what we're dealing with and so that everyone can be aware of it at virtually the same time or within days at least.
So is Barbados, are we capable of testing for these variants, or do we send them overseas? Because you said we need to act as if Omicron is here, but we don't know if it's here. So we can't say it isn't, because we haven't really conducted any tests yet, or have we?
Well, what I can say is that the beautiful thing about Omicron is that we can have an increased index of suspicion for Omicron simply based on PCR testing. There are a few variants that have come through internationally that have had what we call the S gene dropout. And so at the PCR level, which is the test that we offer here locally, we can actually see that deletion. Now, since Omicron has reared its head, we have noticed in the scientific community as well that there's now a stealth Omicron, which actually, so the original Omicron initially, the B11529, B1159, sorry, essentially has now we have reclassified that to a BA1, and now there is a mutation off of the original one, which is a BA2, and there's that stealth. Now that one does not allow for the S gene dropout, which we can detect by PCR. However, we would still be able to say at the level of the PCR that the person is SARS-CoV-2 positive, and that is what really makes the difference. Now, to be able to say exactly what a variant is, we need to be able to do genomic sequencing. Now, currently, we are working with CARFA to actually be able to provide that genomic sequencing information, and we have been sending samples to CARFA. I know we've actually sent some recently, so we're really looking forward to that data coming back to be able to inform how things have been evolving, and if they've been evolving, if we're still staying safe. And I know that there are plans really to be able to do genomic surveillance and sequencing here locally, and I think that that's really where we need to get to, simply because as time passes, variants will always present. Remember, as I explained before, we can have mutations in a disease process, but it does not always translate to clinical manifestation or clinical change or concern when it comes to that virus. And so in an attempt to always be on the cutting edge, I think it is a very good idea to be able to have the capacity and capability here in Barbados to be able to do our own genomic sequencing and surveillance.
Now, Dr. Grandison, we had a number of people, and I know I spoke to personally, that had negative tests and then went back a couple days later and had a positive test. Now, what I'm asking now is, if it is that I am showing a negative PCR test, how can I spread something that the PCR can't even pick up at that time? Am I contagious still at that time, or am I only contagious if it turns positive a couple days after?
Well, I'll take it a step back even before actually having that PCR test. Remember that being able to get a good result from a test requires you to be able to take a good sample. Okay? So it really starts at the point of sampling, at the point of swabbing. And so that is why it's so important that if you are going to swab, you should have someone who is going to be swabbing you, who actually understands really the importance of taking a good sample, getting a sample that is representative of what is happening with you. Because if you don't have a good sample that was taken, I know sometimes person may say, but Doc, it feels very uncomfortable getting that swab very far in the back of the nose. But there's a reason why we go back there, and that's because that is where the reservoir for the virus can potentially be. And so if you want, provided that you've taken a good sample, you should be able to see a reflection in that in terms of a positive PCR test. Now, for a person who, let's say they've taken the proper sample and they are PCR negative at that point in time, I would hedge on saying that this person is probably not infectious. However, with Delta and now what we're seeing with Omicron, the replication rate or the doubling rate increases so fast for this virus. And so you may not be infectious at the time you got your test. However, within the 24-hour period now when you get your PCR result, you may now have become in the positive range and can be detected.
And I know we probably asked this question before, but I'm going to ask it again. Asymptomatic people are just as contagious as symptomatic people, or not as much?
Yes, an asymptomatic person is just a person who, because of the variability of human presentation, has not expressed outwardly symptoms. And I sort of get a little concerned about even using that term asymptomatic, because the patient may not be asymptomatic, they may be pre-symptomatic. They may not have shown their symptoms as yet, as opposed to that patient not showing symptoms, period. And so I would say once the person has tested positive, whether that positive is on rapid, certainly especially on rapid, or if that person has tested positive on PCR, then that person can be considered, especially if it is a low PCR CT value, that person can be considered to be infectious. However, I would go on to say that using the PCR test, as we have heard before, can show for persons who have been previously acutely infected with COVID-19, it can show higher CT values, and most importantly, CT values that are not doubling down or decreasing in terms of that CT number. Now, because this PCR test actually simply detects the presence of SARS-CoV-2, not always replicating or intact virus, we need to be able to understand exactly what that CT value result is showing us. And anytime that we have any concerns, what we generally do is repeat the test. We've had persons that had high CT values, high 30s. And so if we are concerned, or when we look at the clinical course of the patient may have had, for instance, symptoms 2 weeks ago, and now the symptoms have resolved. The likelihood of that patient being infectious with a high CT value 2 weeks after, and certainly if we decide to repeat that to confirm that the CT value is not changing in terms of going down, but it's either holding at that number, meaning it's no longer replicating, or it is getting higher, meaning that the body is continuing to clear those viral sheddings, then we have no concern that that person is infectious.
All right, we're going to have to take a quick break. When we come back with Dr. ADANNA Grandison, we're going to ask about BAMP's position on the protocols when we return. Welcome back to Face It and Fix It. Before the break, we asked Dr. ADANNA Grandison about the position, BAMP's position on the protocols and the recent changes to the directive. When it comes to vaccination and rapid tests, they will be required for promoters, artists, and stage crew for open air events. How safe is this? Because we know people who are vaccinated still catch COVID. Convince the viewers.
To be quite honest, BAMP's position really hasn't changed. From the very beginning, we have always pushed for knowing your status and for testing. And so from a health perspective solely, we would advocate for testing of all persons across the board. However, as you know, policy decisions are made taking other things into consideration, and I can understand why they would ask persons who are not vaccinated to be tested to know if they're infectious, because one, they're the persons who can potentially have virus within their actual bodies for a longer period of time before they clear. And so at the very least, the unvaccinated really should be tested. But BAMP is very much of the strong opinion that everyone should be tested if we're trying to know if a person is infectious at the time of the event. And I think that it really goes outside even an event. If you're around large persons, for instance, family gatherings, anything of that, you should really know your status, whether you are vaccinated or not.
All right, so actually it says here, I believe the vaccinated or not, you will be tested. Now, for everybody, I believe that's what it says. They're patrons will be required to be vaccinated, or they said or. Well, we're saying and, because
Yes,
that makes
please.
sense. And you should be both.
Yes.
Because,
Yes.
yeah, go on.
We know, for instance, the persons who are working at the events, they are required, whether vaccinated or not, to be tested, and that really is the gold standard. And I understand exactly why, because as an event promoter, you want to ensure that you mitigate the risk based upon the event that you're putting out. So you're making sure that your staff members are really in the green. And so for the patrons, however, coming into the event, vaccinated do not require testing, unvaccinated require testing. However, BAMP, we strongly recommend that everybody should be tested.
I'm with
However,
BAMP.
we do understand the policy decision for such, and we also have to look at the capability on the island and the capacity to actually do testing. So and one thing we do not want is for persons to do or to perform non-approved tests, and certainly by extension not report their tests centrally. This here has been a concern where persons may use tests that are not approved by the local authorities, and that sometimes can cause lots of problems. And especially for those non-approved tests, what it can result in is you getting a false negative test and you having a sense of comfort that really is not founded. And that's what we really want to ensure, to move persons away from. So if you are going to do the responsible thing and get tested, make sure that the test is done by an official swabber and using an official test kit.
No, for me, these changes, and here's where I question. I'm with you with BAMP that everybody should be tested as well as vaccinated. And, or, you know, I think that the promoters, when they said that they have to do both, when you're showing up and the crew showing up, they're showing up to work. So they're probably mentally carrying a sense of more responsibility, not intoxicated, things like that. So I would probably have done the opposite. What you're doing for the patrons, I might have probably put it on the promoters and the crew. And certainly for the patrons who are coming in to have a good time and drink alcohol and, you know, all the things that can happen at an event, that you will let your guard down. But to be fair, I am with BAMP, and I don't see how one set of rules can be for the crew and the promoters and another set for the patrons. It really don't make much sense to me. And I kind of agree with BAMP that it should be not or, it should be and hopefully the powers that be are listening would take that into consideration. I understand that you said the resources may not allow for rapid tests, but rapid tests are not as accurate as PCR either. So how reliable?
I think for the purposes of the event, because what you're really trying to answer the question is this person infectious? Can they spread the disease at the time of interaction? And to answer that question, I think that the rapid test would be the appropriate test to use. However, I would say, and I really, really want to encourage persons, I think we really need to sort of always move on. At this point in time, we sort of rely on government to have the measures in place for us. And I think it is important that we also start to exhibit some personal responsibility, because you don't want to get sick. We understand the downtime and sometimes the inconvenience that getting infected causes from a work level, from just enjoying and being what Barbadians, I've heard from several Barbadians in the home isolation program saying being free, you know, to do what they want to do to a certain extent. And so I think it's important that you just know your status before the event. If you want to show more due diligence and get tested after the event, especially if you have vulnerable persons in your family, I'm saying by all means do that, so that you know exactly where you stand. And we can, as everybody is hoping, and I think more than any other group, healthcare workers are really hoping that we return or come to a new level of normalcy, where we can enjoy to a certain extent life as normal, but we need to do it safely. We can't do it in an unsafe manner.
And I totally agree. Well, I am hopeful that the protocols, I mean, I would love to go out too. But I'm boosted as well. But I will also share a story of a friend of mine I saw at the bank. And she said, Joy, you know, I was not well. And November, she said late November, she caught COVID and dengue. And I think a lot of that has been happening too. So you're thinking that it was the COVID that knocked you down. It really was the dengue. She was vaccinated. She is vaccinated and boosted. But she caught COVID within the same week as she had the booster and dengue. So I was a little taken back because I'm like, so wait a minute. I got jab 1, I get jab 2, I get jab 3, and you're still catching this thing? How many cases do you know of people who have been boosted that, or not only just here, but globally, if you have that information? Is the booster working?
I would say that the booster is definitely working, but one thing that I want to highlight in that story, based upon what you stated, was that she actually caught COVID within a week of getting boosted.
Within the same week, yes. Mm-hmm.
Right. And remember, we actually state that a person, even with the fully vaccinated person at the 2 dose, they are considered fully vaccinated medically 2 weeks after, because you've mounted that full response. Same thing with the booster dose, right? And on top of that, there can be persons who will get breakthrough. But because she had her 3rd shot, her booster shot, and she got COVID within that 1 week, she would not have been considered to have mounted a sufficient enough response on 3rd dose. She would have been fully vaccinated, and she probably would be classified as a person who would have had a breakthrough from full vaccination. And that is something that we have seen. As we know, about 7% of the population, it can occur based upon the international data that we are seeing.
And how are the vaccines responding to this new variant, Omicron?
So we know that there is a concern, especially some of the initial data that Pfizer would have brought out, where they are saying that the 2nd dose, or what we previously considered a person to be fully vaccinated at dose 2, actually has shown some efficacy, but decreased efficacy with that 2nd dose, and with an increased efficacy at the booster dose. And this is something that is a concern for most scientists following this disease process. Remember that the more time you give this virus to be able to adapt to harsh conditions where there are persons who are vaccinated, and we're not now talking about just a country, but we're looking at the global picture. If we have persons who are some vaccinated, some are not vaccinated, the virus now has the space, the wiggle room to be able to adapt and change and evolve into something that can evade vaccines, which is something that we don't want.
Okay, we're going to take a commercial break and we'll come right back with Dr. ADANNA Grandison. Welcome back to Face It and Fix It. We're speaking with Dr. ADANNA Grandison. We're speaking about the new variant, Omicron, and what can we expect, who does it impact, the vaccine. And we're not hearing a lot about vaccines. Lines are not long for the vaccine as much as it was before. Some people are still not convinced. What can we do to make sure that they know more about it, to encourage them to get it?
Well, certainly I think that programs like this is the first step in terms of educating the public, right? What is happening here in terms of vaccine hesitancy is not an anomaly to what is happening in the international space. However, I would say quite comforting, which, although it should not take measures like this to occur. Even in the UK, they have started now to see an uptick in vaccinations, and it's simply because they're starting to realize again the additional inconvenience of another variant. One thing we can say for sure is that these vaccines now have been around for a long enough time to know if they are hurting persons in a very significant way, and we have not seen that. There are some persons who will have adverse effects, some persons who will have the myocarditis and the pericarditis, for instance, in the Pfizer, some persons who will have small populations of persons who will have clot formation with the AstraZeneca. These are things that are absolutely in the minority. And when you look at the adverse effects with the vaccine and compare those to the adverse effects that you can have for COVID-19 if you are infected, at every single point of the way, it is a lot higher if you are infected with the virus, presenting with disease. So for instance, your potential for developing clots if you're infected with COVID-19 is about 10 times higher than if you had developed clots from getting the vaccine. What we know is that the vaccine saves lives. What we have been able to see is that persons in community who have been infected with COVID-19, who have, for instance, have the vaccine, they had lesser chances of being escalated to where they needed to be hospitalized or needed to go to Harrison Point or one of our central isolation facilities for care. So their possibility of going on to develop severe disease was a lot less as a vaccinated person. Whereas a person who was unvaccinated had about a 4 times increase in terms of, one, getting infected, but most importantly, going on to presenting with severe disease. And that's exactly what the vaccine is touted to protect you against: severe disease and death. And I think that that's probably the most important statistic at this point in time, because it's different from getting the flu-like symptoms and let's say in a week or so you're back to normal after getting infected. But a person who goes on to severe disease, potentially having the long-term sequelae from COVID in terms of the long-haul COVID and having changes in terms of their quality of life, those are the things that we get concerned about, and those are the things that the vaccine actually protects against.
But if persons have a functioning immune system, I mean, in terms of it's really good, they're asking why should they get vaccinated? And I thought it's not really about them owning, it's about spreading it to people who don't have a good immune system, like your grandparents, etc. So remember when we first started out, we were telling people not only to vaccinate for themselves, but vaccinate to protect the people who are vulnerable. And I don't know where that message got lost somewhere, because some people just don't want to take it because they're making it more about themselves only. What do you want to say about that?
But in addition to vaccinating for others, Joyanne, I want to say vaccinate for yourself. Mm-hmm. Because even with a well-functioning immune system, as I explained, your immune system, because it has never seen this virus before, mm-hmm. will take time to be able to not only just identify it and recognize that it's something foreign, but know what is the appropriate immune response to mount against this new foreign entity. And in that time, the virus is replicating within your body. You're getting higher and higher viral loads. And by the time your body is able to potentially fight it, you now have lots of virus in circulation, which can potentially overwhelm the system, which results clinically and shows clinically within us as more severe disease. So yes, I do agree with you. Protect the others in your household, protect the vulnerable, but I'm saying to you, get vaccinated to protect you as well.
Okay, well, again, as I said, we're not seeing the numbers as high as before. People rushing. What about the numbers now? I know you were part of the team and in charge of the home isolation aspect of this. Is still your role? I mean, because I know you're acting right now as the president of BAMP. Before I take this WhatsApp, I wanted to ask you if it is a case of a lot of people not presenting anymore, because we got over 1,000 in home isolation. We've got probably about 200 and something in the facilities, which is a lot lower than what you were dealing with the last 4, 5, 6 weeks ago.
We are seeing a lot less persons in home isolation at this point in time. We're seeing a lot less positivities in Barbados at this point in time, but it also should be noted that persons are testing a lot less. And we tend to see that there is a pattern, even in terms of how persons call in and even ask for help. Generally, persons tend not to wish to be concerned or inconvenienced during something as simple as the weekend, but then we tend to see a larger number of persons calling in and seeking for help on the Monday, the weekday. But I think we are starting to see less cases now in community, and generally once you have a surge, there will be a time where that surge episode will start to burn out. We still need to ascertain if that is as a result of the less testing, or if we are truly now starting to plateau as a result of Delta. I would hope that even if we had increased testing, that these numbers would stay low, because what it would tell me is that we as Barbadians, we are starting to take COVID seriously, and we are using not just the vaccination measures, because I think that the message needs not to just be vaccination only, but vaccination and the non-pharmacologic interventions, vaccination and hand sanitizing, vaccination and mask wearing, vaccination and social distancing. I think that that is really important at this point in time. So we are going to continue to monitor those numbers, but we are truly seeing less numbers in community at this point in time that are known to be positive.
We've got a WhatsApper here. Let's take this and read this to you. This WhatsApper says, as soon as Barbados has been seeing a decline in positive cases lately. Is this a case of us reaching our peak in terms of the amount of the population that has been positive, or are we seeing a decline in the amount of people coming forward being tested? Again, similar to what you just said, Dr. Grandison.
I think that we have reached our peak if we really look at how the data was evolving, with our highest in isolation at a point in time of being just over 7,000, and we've really dialed back. Yes, of note now, we do have less testing occurring on the island, but even just after that 7,000 peak, and we were maintaining our testing numbers, we were starting to see a decrease in the numbers, and certainly a decrease in the amount of cases that had to be up triage, for instance, to go into hospitalization. So we are watching it. It is an evolutionary process, and it is something that happens with surge activity. But we also want to be very mindful that because our source markets do have Omicron in this space, and Omicron is increasingly infectious, that we need to be on the lookout for Omicron in this space as well. But we are happy if we are truly continuing to decrease, which I actually think is the case, compounded by the fact that we have less testing. But we are truly starting to decrease in our community in terms of Delta. And I hope that those numbers we can sustain, but it is not an opportunity for us to completely drop our guard.
So we see the numbers are somewhat always low for the persons under 18, children. And we know that back to school, we heard the announcement. School will start November 10th. The face of it, what will happen? Will it be face-to-face? Will it be a blended approach? We don't know as yet. What's BAMP's position on children being vaccinated? Because I know shortly, and I want to share this with all of you, the Ministry of Education will be embarking on a campaign to encourage vaccinations for children between the ages of 12 and 17, because they still need to push that. Not seeing a lot of them. So what is your position, BAMP's position on face-to-face? If we keep holding it like this and we see a decline, can our children safely go back to school even if they're not vaccinated?
I think that we need to get our children vaccinated. And it's simply because children tend to present a little differently from adults. They tend not to initially have as rough a course as the adult population, but certainly they can have some very significant non-acute conditions, presentations of illness. When we think about the MISC presentation of children, I think it is important that we really take into consideration very strongly getting vaccinated. Yes, our numbers are decreasing, but they're still high at this point in time. And I know that this is something that the ministry is definitely looking into in terms of ensuring, because there is a very real need for children to get back into a structured physical school setting to minimize the amount of psychological distress that children are having, and also for them to be able to achieve what we call social normalcy, which is something very, very important to the developing mind and to the developing child. So we do understand that importance for the child to get back into a school setting, but again, as we always say, it must be done safely. And so vaccination, I think, is the way to go. We know that there are vaccinations that are approved for the 12 to 18 group, as well as new data coming out that shows that vaccinations are approved for even the 5 to 11 group. But we need to do it in a very safe way for children to ensure that, one, they can get back to school and enjoy the interactions with their colleagues safely, but also so that we can continue long-term now, looking at the long-term plan, that our children are continuing along the trajectory of achieving their educational and psychological and physical milestones as they should.
The children obviously can only take Pfizer, which means that they have to get boosted too as well, or is it different for them?
At this point in time, there isn't any data really showing about the boosters for children, and I think that has to do with the fact that the children's approval for the vaccine occurred a lot later for the adult in comparison to the adult approval, and so a lot of them have not reached that 6 months mark as yet. But it is something that I know is going to continue to be ongoing, and it's something that we will most likely be looking at. But the data is not out as yet.
Because some parents may actually think that because they've been boosted, the child has to be boosted. And as you said, it started a little bit later than the original vaccines for adults, and we have to wait it out. So my next question will then go to the antiviral drug that I know some time back you were pretty excited about. Where are we with this antiviral drug? And after, we're going to talk about Cuba and their vaccine. What about the antiviral drug right now? Is it available?
Well, I don't know that it's available here in Barbados. I know that there are some countries that have used it for those persons who have had COVID-19 disease. And there's also now a new, I think it is by, if I want to say correctly, it's by Pfizer, a new pharmacologic that is on the market for those persons who can't take the vaccine, and it is an antibody pharmacologic, which I think that is also exciting. So there's lots of new stuff coming out in the scientific space, which I think can benefit those persons who can't, for medical reasons, take the vaccine, and also for those persons who may have been infected with SARS-CoV-2 to prevent severe disease and possibly death. But as far as I am aware, we don't have this here yet in Barbados, and it's something that I look forward to, and I'm sure that as soon as it is available because, as you know, even trying to get the vaccines was a difficult but not impossible feat for Barbados. And I know that we would probably use every potential resource in terms of having it accessible to persons who can benefit from it when it becomes available to us.
Okay, and I understand that Cuba has about 2 or 3. I know about 2. I don't know if it's a third one. Any word on the Cuban vaccine? Or no one knows?
I'm only aware of 2. I'm not aware of 3.
Okay.
So you're now sending me back to, which is something that I always welcome, sending me back to the data to see if there's a third one, but I'm only aware of 2. But here on the island, we have not had the Cuba vaccine as yet. And it is something that, and I know that we were waiting for the phase 3 trials. I actually saw just yesterday, I came across one of the phase 3 trial papers for the Cuba vaccine, which I am now to read. So I don't want to speak out of turn and misrepresent anything as it relates to the Cuba vaccine before I come out into a public space and give that information. But I know that generally the thought process is, once a vaccine has gone through its due diligence to ensure that it is safe to the population and that the risks are way less than the benefits of taking a vaccine, then it is something that is taken into consideration for the population, because I do know that there are some persons who are very much interested in the Cuba vaccine.
All right, so let me just recap so that I can understand, and hopefully your viewers, when it comes to the vaccine and the Omicron and the Delta, the vaccine is still the best way and safest way to go to fix this problem, to tackle this problem of the spread of COVID-19. That's 1. 2, to all of you vaccine hesitant individuals that are still on the fence, wondering why or if you should, as Dr. Grandison said, take it for yourself, to protect yourself. I'm pushing for you to take it also for your loved ones, that the science shows that you do better catching COVID, if you catch COVID with a vaccine, than if you don't get a vaccination. And if people are playing with numbers, because a lot of people who want to quote new numbers, and you know, the ones that what we call the Facebook and social media doctors, if they're quoting numbers, they're not really looking at the facts that the survival rate or the rate of you being sick to the point of hospitalization, the vaccine still reduces that. It does not 100%, as you have said, and every doctor has said, does not stop you from catching it. It doesn't even stop you from dying. It minimizes, it lowers it. So I just wanted to reiterate that so people would understand, because I still get in the arguments about why you take a vaccine for and stuff like that. And I keep saying to people, I don't have all the answers. The doctors don't even have all the answers. I'm looking based upon what doctors say, because normally if you want to fix your car, you go to the mechanic. If you got into trouble and you rob a bank or you do something, you're going to a lawyer. If I get sick, I go into a doctor, a real doctor. And I'm hoping that people would do that as well. But one last question, and it is from someone who operates a restaurant. I know it's not pertaining to you, but it's about a protocol. People are confused that in a conditioned restaurant, you're still allowed seating, but yet still in the malls, in an AC courtyard, you can't have seating. How is that? What's your risk in a restaurant versus, because they're both air conditioned, you've reduced the numbers in restaurants that are enclosed, but you have removed you've been asked to remove the furniture and the seating for the courtyards in the malls.
I don't know. I can't speak to what the thinking was. I can assume, generally speaking, based upon some of the courtyards that I've seen, the seating in the courtyard is a lot closer. Okay? And if the seating is closer in the courtyard and there is less space, because usually you don't have all of that nice space. The malls in the US are a little different. You have lots of seating in the mall, space for you to eat. However, some of our malls here, you don't have enough space based upon the seating requirement. And if that is going to be the case, and also a high population density moving in and out of the malls, and I've seen it at one of our malls in the Christchurch area, certainly I could understand the concern in terms of having persons who may not only sit for extended periods of time, which I know is a pastime of that particular mall. You would go into the mall and you would see persons who sometimes are not even eating, who would be sitting and would remove their masks and chatting and stuff like that. And that is really a concern, because we really want to limit the amount of time that you are interacting in an unprotected way with someone else. So from that standpoint, I can't speak to the Ministry of Health protocols because I don't know the intimate details of it, but I am hazarding a guess that that is probably along the lines that with which they were thinking. But Joanne, I want to say it is not just vaccine. I want us to really get into our heads. It is vaccine and not vaccine or.
Vaccine and wear a mask, vaccine and social and physical distance, vaccine and sanitize.
Absolutely.
All three, and test.
And
still
test. And I would say for this Christmas season, vaccine and ventilate. So if you can have your gathering on the outside where there's a lovely fresh breeze blowing, beautiful.
Okay, well, that's fantastic. I'm going to call you after the show because I had a fall this morning and I didn't feel anything. But as I sit here now, my back's really hurting me. So we're going to have to talk what direction I need to go in and who I need to call, because at 52, you don't want to fall. And I did. Thank you so much, Dr. ADANNA Grandison, as always. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, and it's always a pleasure. Bye-bye. Okay, and season's greetings to everyone.
Okay, thanks. Same to you as well. When we come back, we will have the Most Honorable Anthony Gabby Carter, Dr. the Most Honorable Anthony Gabby Carter, will join us. We'll be back. Welcome back. We are now joined by the Dr. the Most Honorable Gabby Carter, Cultural Ambassador, and my friend. Hello, Gabby. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Joya. Good to see you, girl.
Good to see you too. I miss some of them WhatsApp messages. Well, okay, we're going to have to sort out some feedback we're getting back from the Cultural Ambassador. We're going to have to, I'm hearing myself, so we're going to have to sort of get that rectified. But when we get Gabby back, we're going to talk about his COVID story. Was a little shocked to hear that it happened to Gabby, but I'm so happy to see that he's here with us, looking great. And recently married as well. I might touch on that too. He did not send me an invitation. So I will, when we get back to him, we will ask him about all of these different things. In the meantime, while we rectify that, I want to make sure that my handbag is secure, because unfortunately I left my car rolled down in the car park and my handbag was on the seat. So the good people at CBC, thank God, because it was raining, came to me during the break and I had to give them my key. I'm hoping that all is intact. I'm talking about safety all last week and telling people to be vigilant. And here I am leaving my car window down and the handbag in the car seat. which is not a good thing, but I was rushing this morning and I was using the telephone. And as I was speaking to my friend Martina, good morning to you, I forgot to close my window. So I want to thank the security at CBC for making sure that all was well and all is well, and that I will find my handbag intact when I get back to my car after the show. So while we wait on Gabby, there's a couple of things that we do need to mention regarding vaccinations, etc. There's still a number of vaccination sites that are available for people to go to. And today, Thursday, the immunization unit advises members of the public that they may access the available COVID-19 vaccines today, Thursday. I have a friend of mine in Six Roads. If he's listening, he's supposed to get a second shot due today. So thank God that the Princess Margaret Secondary School in Six Roads in St. Philip is open today from 9 a.m. until 4 p.m. We also have Christchurch Parish Church Hall in Churchill, Christchurch. People living in that area, you can visit to get your vaccine or get boosted from 10 a.m. this morning until 2 p.m. We have the Masonic Center, Salters, St. George, from 10 a.m. this morning to 2:30 p.m. We also have Building number 2, Harbor Industrial Park in St. Michael, and the opening hours for that place is 10 a.m. until 4 p.m. And of course, we do have the regular vaccines available. The AstraZeneca, Pfizer, Sinopharm, and Johnson & Johnson vaccines will be available on these sites. At these sites, students 12 to 18 years old may visit any center or public clinic to receive the Pfizer-only vaccine. And that's students 12 to 18. Pfizer vaccine only. I want to encourage parents right now. School is starting back in January. If you haven't done it, I would encourage you to please consider, if your child is eligible, get a vaccine, and so that people would be able to go back to school in a faster and a better manner. And then where we were before, online and face-to-face is really not happening. And a lot of children are falling behind because of it. So I'm hoping that you take the opportunity to do so. Booster shots for the AstraZeneca, Pfizer, and Sinopharm vaccines will also be available at the sites for persons 18 years and older who had their second injection 6 months ago or longer. Persons receiving the booster may present either their blue vaccination card or vaccination certificates. The Ministry of Health and Wellness has announced the operating times for the COVID-19 testing sites during the Christmas and New Year holiday periods. That's interesting. On Christmas Eve, while you are solving your report, you may want to leave home. On Friday, December 24th, all testing sites will open from 9 a.m. until 1 p.m., with the exception of the Brantford Tate Polyclinic, which will open from 8 a.m. until noon. Only the site at the Queen's Park Steel Shed, not the QEH, will operate on Christmas Day, Saturday, December 25th. It will run from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. So remember, there are people who may want to travel on Christmas Day. You may want to get a test. You have to get a test. So this is for you too. People who may want to know their status during the holiday period, this is also a good opportunity for you to do so. The Brantford Tate Polyclinic, Black Rock, and Eunice Gibson Polyclinic, Warrens, both in St. Michael, are the two sites which will be open now on Boxing Day. This is Sunday, December 26th. They will operate from 8 a.m. till noon. The main testing site at the Wildy Gymnasium, Wildy St. Michael, is the lone site, which will now open on Monday the 27th. That too is a bank holiday, Christmas bank holiday to be exact. The operating times are 9 a.m. until 1 p.m. We're going to come back to you and with you with Dr. The Honorable Gabby Carter, Anthony Gabby Carter, when we come back. But we're going to take a break when we come back. We'll be back. Welcome back to Face It and Fix It. I am trying to remember the name of this little setup by Maria Bradshaw, and I cannot remember it, but I do have, this was sent to me just now. She's making these, and she made this one for my daughter Sky. Sky, you're watching, and it says here, the sky is the limit. These are not edible, they're just decorative. And I really wish I could, I'm going to remember the name before the end of the show, because she has an Instagram page, and you can order these, and they're so cute. And this goes back with the color of my daughter's room in blue, has a mermaid and everything on it, and I think it's so beautiful. And I want to thank her because she just left it at CBC. This is Maria Bradshaw from the Nation newspaper, and I want to say thank you so much publicly to Maria. She also sent me one for my birthday too as well. But she said, I'm making one for your daughter, just for your daughter, and this is a gift. So I want to thank her so much. And when I find the name, I will share that with you so you can go. But maybe you can just go on and type in Maria Bradshaw on her Facebook page, and you're going to find them there as well. So I'm hoping that we have Dr. Carter, Dr. Anthony, the Honorable. We got mixed up with so many names. Dr. the Most Honorable Anthony Gabby Carter, Cultural Ambassador. We all know him and love him as just Gabby. And we mean him no disrespect when we call him that. And he does, and none is never taken, ever taken when we do that. But of course, he's been given the title and he deserves the title. And we are trying to get the technical problems sorted. And I believe we have them sorted. So welcome back, Gabby. You can hear me?
Hi. Yes, how are you?
I am good. I introduce you, Dr. the Most Honorable Anthony Gabby Carter, Culture Ambassador. So, but you know I love to call you Gabby. So you know I could,
Oh, yeah.
I could get away with
So
that,
many
right?
years. Yep.
So Gabs, I understand that you weren't well a couple of weeks ago and you caught COVID. And
That is very true.
listen, let me just say, right? I am thankful and grateful that it did not take you and that you were here to tell the story. So let me just give thanks first and foremost
Yeah.
for life, right?
Yeah.
For sure.
Yes.
For sure. Give thanks. So you want
I
to
tell
tell
you,
us? Go ahead.
Yeah, it's amazing because I when I took a shower, and when I did, I realized I was feeling a little chilly and took the bath. So I said, this is real strange. I mean, the real December cold ain't getting here yet. So I went and put on one of them sweaters that if you're going to Canada or England or United States or something in the winter. I realized I was still feeling chilly. It's crazy, but I went and I lay down and like couldn't sleep. It was like feeling hot, feeling cold, feeling hot, feeling cold. And finally, maybe about 5 o'clock, I got up. And that was it. And I just like dry cough. I didn't pay it no mind because I knew I didn't sleep like 2 or 3 days before that. And anytime that happens, I just always have this dry cough. Right? The body, like, I don't know if it's dehydration or what. But I decided, okay, I'll get it out. Then later in the afternoon, David Comagnon called me. So he wanted me to do something pertaining to the independence and the week. And that's going with public and all that. I told him, Dave, I'm already feeling so hot. And he asked me what happened. And I told him that, Dave, you know, got this slick cough and, you know, I was feeling chilly last night. I said, man, why you don't go over the gym days, you know, and get the best, man. People up there, man, they know you and love you, man. You just go, oh, man, I don't think I got no. I said, man, Gabby, don't take the chance, go. I went and I was making fun rhyming on the nurses and doctors and this and that and they gave me the best human nurse. And I went home and less than 2 hours later, Dr. Grandison called and said that I had tested positive. You have to go to Lucy. And now, it's about, I think got that impact or anything. No problem. We'll give you the time to send someone. It's a private vehicle, though, not like an ambulance or something. And I went to St. Lucie, spent like 3 hours, or 3 hours down there on that tent. But I was chilly too. But the wind was definitely blowing cold in St. Lucie. You know, St. Lucie, like, got some of the coolest weather out there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, eventually told me, okay, you are going to go to Queen's College. So I said, okay. So I got the bus, me and two other people, and we went to Queen's College. Less than an hour later, Dr. Corey would call me and he said, Gabby, man, there was a mistake. You're supposed to go to the Savannah Hotel. So send somebody for you in 20 minutes. Well, 20 minutes they're here. Anthony Carter, please report to the main hall. And so I said, okay. I went up there. And when we were going up, they had two women in the like, I don't know if they just got dismissed from down there or what. They were going to Eagle Hall. So the driver asked them if he could drop me first and then drop them. I was going farther. They said, sure, man, we want to take you a little ride with Gabbert. So they rode with me and wished me all the best. I wished them all the best. I went in. And I fell asleep almost immediately. I was about 12 o'clock at night. And they told me that Dr. Ford came at 12:30. Told them to don't worry to wait me. And he was back at 7:30. From that moment, I was getting tremendous treatment and attention, you know. Said, no, Garrett's man, we can't afford to let you go, man. You know you're gonna look after you. Thanks.
You can't go like this, not like this.
You know, I even wrote a poem in tribute to him and so on. Mm-hmm. I was there, but I never got like loss of smell, loss of taste, loss of appetite, nothing like that. I had like stiffness in my joints and a slight throbbing back of my head, and just a cough. Right? So I stayed there for a week, and then Dr. Ford told me, right, Gabby, you have the option to spend another 4 days here or go home. You're gonna be alright if you go home. I said, yeah, man, I'll be alright. So away from them, we drop off stuff, open the wall. You know, they abandoned me. I'll never forget these people abandoned me, right? Drop off stuff by the wall and so on until, you know, it was safe to come back in and so, you know, it was really amazing to me because I used to do all the things I was supposed to do. But that's how it is.
You never knew, you didn't know how you contracted it. I guess you had to do the whole contact this and call everybody.
Possible. Yeah, it was possible. I'm saying definitely that I could have contracted it when I went to a rehearsal. I remember going to a rehearsal. And only one musician had on a mask, none of the backup singers. I was like 18 miles from them. So I assume that if that means that hospital would have traveled like real far.
Really?
Yeah. But I can't attribute it to anything else. So I went to the bank one day. I went to the restaurant one day. Those are the things. I would normally be home watching cricket or something. I love cricket. Every year.
There's a lot of people who can't really say, but I understand when you touch surfaces, you actually put your hands in your face lots of times during the course of the day. You don't really know. You just keep, more times than you're conscious of. And I understand there are a lot of surfaces. This is why it's important to at least sanitize. You're going to wear the mask, but wearing the mask and even removing the mask, you should sanitize your hands and then remove it from the ears and bring it off.
Correct.
Don't try to do this with your dirty hands or adjust your mask with your dirty hands. All of that contributes to the spread. A little scary when you think about it, but I don't want to move away from COVID, but I want to say congratulations to you. You're married now. I
Thank
saw
you.
that on. I said, wait, he messaged me and tell me he will come for some cake.
Yeah. So, listen, right? I had a real quiet wedding down the road up in Naniki, and that was it. You know, actually, I didn't get a chance to go for the honeymoon yet. Then that tells you everything.
But listen, when you got married,
I was thinking about a honey stand. You know, I would be the first one to do a honey stand as opposed to a honeymoon. You know, you just do it during the day or whatever it is, where the sunshine.
well, I can tell you this: you got married. I won't share your age because, however how old you are, you look damn good.
Oh Lord, I'm 73.
You 73 and got married. Was this year or last year or something like that? Last year.
Yeah. My first anniversary was a few years ago.
Okay, because I'm saying, if you got married now, there's still hope for me then, Gabs, because at 52 I figured.
I'm married. You, my girl.
I am married again. I got married early at 19. Got divorced shortly after.
You talking to a man who knows. He's talking like I'm a stranger to you. I know you from school till now.
I know. Is there something that you wanted to? I mean, with your journey, at any point were you terrified and thinking that you might not have made it? I just wanted to know what your thoughts were.
Never, because I never got those symptoms that would really bring you down. You know, I guess people talk about loss of taste, loss of smell, loss of appetite. I never experienced those things. So I always felt I'd be okay. Always felt that way. And what gave me hope too is like Rainer, right? Rainer socialized. Every one time I go, Rainer socialized 10. I work out if Rainer could survive and come out and be strong. That I got a fairly good chance too. So, you know. But the only sad thing is that I had lost quite a few of my good friends. One in particular would have been very published. King. You know what? I like to talk about Chris because she was a beautiful girl. She was so determined to be a nurse. And she started the exam 755 million times and failed all 759 million times. So I told her, forget this nurse thing. You're doing massage, you're doing pedicure, manicures, you're doing making soaps and creams and other products and so on. You're being successful. Forget the nurse thing. She said to me, Gabby, that nurse can't be a nurse. So in February, she called me and she said, "What good news for you?" I said, "How the business improving?" She said, "No, about the nursing." I said, "You fail again?" She said, "No, I passed and with distinction." I said, "What?" I said, "You better send that picture to me with that certificate." She said, "I already did. Look in your phone." I felt so happy that she had passed finally. And she went doing the nursing and this and that. And next thing I know, I heard that she got COVID. So I don't know if she got it in her work, somebody else, whatever. Long and short of the story is that I sang at her funeral about 4 weeks. So 4 weeks ago.
Wow. Wow.
And she's 32 years old. She was 32 years old. You know, so in the age thing, man, this thing just have no is not a respect of persons, I don't know, class, color, creed, nationality.
Nothing.
You know, nothing. So anybody could get it. And it's nothing to be ashamed of or nothing to scorn people with or things like that. You know, it's just one of those things.
It's sad, and it's not to scorn people. I mean, I was at a store in Sky Mall, and this lady, she was a little agitated, and then there were other people in line. I was there. She kind of bored and said, "Look, I in a hurry. I got to get out." And I said, "Well, you know, let's take it easy." She said, "You all right? Yeah. I just come out of her at some point." And if you see the people dressed back in the line, right? It was step back. I stood there and I said, "Well, okay, but you know, the mere fact you're out means you're okay. You are, two people died," and she going on. 2 people died next to me, and when I get home, I hear another woman died from a blood clot. after she come out, that type of thing. So everybody was like, so I was saying, look, I don't know you, but take it easy. You're living, you came out of it, and maybe you need to not be so aggressive, but to be a little bit more, take it a little easy. But she was anxious. She didn't want to be there. She said, we don't know what she's going through. Give her a minute, let her bite this and let her get out. So in my mind, I was there singing, please, Lord, let her not be in this store because she was just told that she was positive. And I'm hoping that she actually just came out of Harrison's Point. Because there are people who will get the call and still run out to buy things. Needless to say, what she was buying was makeup, so I didn't think that she was probably going to Harrison's Point anyway. But go on.
Joanne, sorry to interrupt you, but there's something that I saw. I went into a place, right? And I saw somebody did something that was not exactly kosher. You have to put your name, your number, your temperature, and your address in this book. And they wrote some nonsense. Like say that their name might be John Smith. They wrote down like Broad Street, right? It's so silly. And no number, and temperature that is ridiculous, like 205, right? So, it's like making fun of this thing, and it's nothing to make fun of. I said, why you did that? I could do what you like, man. I said, no, there's a reason for having a record at all of these places of business and so on, right? So they can have a trace. I guess something happens, they can trace you. Man, I feel like putting my name there, man. I put down what I feel like. I said, but do you understand that if you were infected or someone had infected, that you're making the job of the doctors and the nurses and all the other health workers and the whole country itself at risk, putting it at risk, or putting them at risk. Man, a woman can't put nothing at the risk, man. You're missing the point. It makes no sense to be trying to. It's not an argument. I was trying to have a discussion with you to the importance of not doing nonsense. Man, Gabby, you're a big boy, but you could see you like my put down way like, okay. At this point, I realize that I'm not getting.
It's a waste of time.
Okay, yeah.
So what are your thoughts now, Gabs, now that you're hearing about the entertainers getting a little chance to do some work and to make some money again, albeit a shorter period?
This morning. I am happy, especially for people like my friend Rudy, right? Rudy Maloney. We used to be together every day playing dominoes. I mean, every day, right? I'm not talking about Fridays like my other team domino guys. I mean, I'm not the best player. Everybody knows that, but I just love the game more than anybody else. So, when I heard that Rudy and the other promoters get a chance to do stuff, I felt good. Some people are complaining that the whole years is just 2 o'clock. How you can make it 4 or something? If you make it 4, they will say, how come you can go down to 6? Because always been stuff like that in people's head. They're never satisfied. But it's good that the entertainers now have and the promoters chance, to make a little money, or because it's been a long ride. I personally lost out on a lot of income. Even here at in the celebrations for the Republic and the independence and so on, I had like 4 engagements, and all I had to cancel because of the fact that I was one of those people who got COVID. So, I sat home, and a friend of mine messaged me from New York, and he said, man, your heart must be hurting you that you ain't get a chance to be up there. No, I told him, not really. I am admiring the fact that so many of my works are being featured by Steve Van, by people like the Gary, by Vlad, by other young people, and so on. Like Billboard's son, Dynamo, and other artists. So to me, it felt good to sit down and watch other artists do some of my creations and so on, you know. And then people will message you or call you and say, Roberts, man, I wish that you'd be singing this song. Or is it, I said, man, I can't be two places, Connect, Sagari, I can't be two places at the same time, right?
But listen, your song came over. I can't remember which one it was, but they sang your song. I'm looking for you, and I'm like, he sound like Gabby though. I think they were playing it, and something came over this show, and I'm looking for you.
Yeah, I think that was a Grantley. And what they did that was very clever and very effective, they played the recording of me singing it.
Right.
Nicholas Frankel's band playing at the same time, along with, because Nicholas did that recording, right? So, and a lot of people didn't know it. People called me and said, Gabby, this is a brand new song. You never heard this Brantley song? I said, no, it's not a brand new song. We recorded it quite a few years ago. It never got any airplay, you know? So, it was the appropriate time to bring a song like that. The only regret I have is that the song I wrote for Arabara, I never recorded it and I cannot remember it. No, I just can't remember it. That happens to me quite frequently, actually. Because I remember when I wanted to do record Ines, I had to go back to Rasai for the lyrics, right? Because I totally forgot the song, you know. And when I did Gimme Soca, I had to go back to Byron Lee for the lyrics again because I had written it for his band, and then Eddie Grant wanted me to do my own version of it and so on. But these things happen, you know. But overall, I want to congratulate Barbados on attaining republic status because, Joe, let me tell you something. There are certain things that have happened in this country that really please me. The removal of the U.S. Naval Base in St. Lucie was one. Removal of Nelson's statue was another. The fact that we obtained republic status, and other people tried and they got a certain place and got stuck and so on. But our PM decided to keep going all the way. And we will invite the British to come and see the whole procedure. That was great. So congratulations to Barbados.
What did you think of the show that night? I can tell you, you weren't there, your music was there, but to me, Gabby, that was the best show I have ever seen this nation put on. It was shown globally, people watched it all over the world. That was first class.
Wholeheartedly, right? Because I spoke to Dorsey Boyce yesterday. I said, Boyce, I have to congratulate you on the production of that show. I have to congratulate all the artists, all the people backstage, all the dancers, all the singers, the choreography, especially the stuff that was done by my friend Carvello. It's like, it was just great. I got congratulated NCF itself, Roberts Reefer, her team. It
Honestly,
was just
yes.
magnificent.
It was magnificent.
It was magnificent. I mean, I'm not saying that because I'm an artist. I'm saying that as a person who saw it, who looked at it, and saw the queuing and I guess it must have been Merville Lynch team or.
It was Merville Lynch production. Yeah.
Let me tell you.
Yep, everything was on point. We got Gabby's frozen there a little bit. These things happen when we are interviewing people using this medium. So hopefully we can get him back. I wouldn't want the interview to end like that, but that show was off the chart. It was off the chain, and I quite enjoyed it. And again, I don't know if I congratulated Barbados since independence, since we moved into a parliamentary republic status. But I want to commend the government because this is something that was in the making for many, 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 many years. And this government, despite all of the pushback, all of why we do have to rush and why we got to do this and why we got to do that, today now we're thinking, okay, great, we've done it. Sometimes you just got to go for it. And if you find an excuse every time and find a problem to every solution, then you'll never get anything done. So you got to move forward, even with the mistakes. And you got to press forward. So kudos to the government, honestly, on moving from into a republic status something that was in the making for many years by many other governments. This government came and they were able to pull it off. I know for some people it doesn't mean anything as it relates to employment, but these are the discussions that we need to have pertaining to what does this mean for Barbadians, what changes can we see. And I think why I am excited is that we have a chance to rewrite the Constitution in a way that is more up to date, because there are a lot of archaic laws in Barbados that we really need to address. And we get a chance to participate in that. We didn't get a chance to participate in it in 1966 when the Constitution was being written. So a lot of things have changed. There's a lot of more inclusion. People talk about the government not being transparent. This government has been very transparent as it relates to COVID, for sure. It's almost like you can win, because one minute you have a press conference and they say you're having too many. Next minute, if you don't come out, then they're saying that you don't have enough. So it's almost like you can't win. Yes, the government can do better in different areas, and I'm not saying that they can't. If they could, then we really wouldn't be here on this program, because we don't need to fix anything. There's a lot of things that need fixing in this country, one by one. But we can also like take the, have to tick boxes and said, okay, Republican status, done. Buses, more or less not done, but we've been improved the service somewhat. Water Authority, still struggling with the repairs, and hopefully they address that repair that we showed them in Harmony and St. Lucie, but they have additional water trucks. There are some service deliveries, agencies that deliver a service in this country that have improved, and there's some that have not moved. NIS, you still can't get through on the phone. Still wondering about that. Water Authority, as I just said, still having some challenges, but they've made some leeways. Yesterday, the Barbados Light and Power, that's another show, and hopefully they will come on the show, because we're going to, hopefully not, but they're asking for a rate increase. I'm hoping that they don't get it at this time. I had a meeting with the Light and Power, some of the moderators did, and I'm still not in agreement. I am for showing Barbadians how to conserve energy. So let's just say that my light bill is $400, and you gave me 6 months, even in like a competition, to say, all right, Joy, change all your bulbs, do all of these things, and reduce the bill to $200. And I achieved that in 6 months. Maybe you can reward me for that. So that when you want your rate increase, and it's say $20, $30 extra, my bill now is $230, but never do $400. So I would have gotten what I wanted, a reduction, and you would get your rate increase. So for me, it makes a difference if you do it that way. So we have the ambassador back, Dr. the Most Honorable Anthony Gabby Carter. You are back. Thank God you dropped out there. We were talking about the show.
Yes.
You were talking about the show.
I was talking about the quality of the show.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know when I dropped out, but I was saying that the standard, what I saw, Darcy Boyce and Mervyn Lynch, Gary Roberts Reefer, all the other players, all the dancers, the choreographers, people like Carvalho and so on. It was just magnificent, world class, and not just first
It was
class.
world class. I want to shout out Stacey O'Brien too from NCF. Some of the people behind the scenes that we don't always get to hear. Stacey O'Brien, of course.
Hi, Stacey. That's my girl. Her grandfather was actually my very close friend, a man called Rich Ivan, who used to promote shows and so on. He was Sparrow and others in the early days. But
Very
anyway,
talented. What do you think about the
that
part?
some people would, I haven't seen it yet.
No?
But
listen, I come in to give you the tour.
We're on that committee, right?
Let me just share this with you people. I said it before. So when we first started out, I had the responsibility of pulling together a committee to conceptualize this part. Gabby was on that committee, is on that committee, and Gabby's input. So that's why I'm saying Gabby ain't see the part yet, because people like Gabby and the head of the both unions, NUPW, BWU, our friend Gilbert Rowe, Mark Williams, the Ambassador Commission, sat in that room at BTI when we do it in a safe way back then, and we put together some plans. And now to see it come to fruition, pat yourself on the back, Gabby, because you had a piece in there.
Not me. I was merely there to give ideas and so on.
And you did.
But you know, uh, the guy who actually did the
Talma
designing of the
Studios.
garden.
Let me just. Sorry, my
Talma, oh
apologies.
yes, Talma. Oh
Kevin
man,
Talma. Kevin. Brian is the
yes,
surfer, windsurfer.
Kevin. Hi
Kevin
Kev,
Talma. Shout out to
congratulations,
him.
man. Everybody
Excellent
says that
job.
it looked great, you know. But I also wanted to touch on the fact that Rihanna became national hero. And a lot of people were very critical of the decision, but I want them to know that to me, Rihanna was a national hero ever since. Not now, right? So, and everybody thinks it's because she's so much into philanthropy and so on. That's not true. She is just special. And I remember when she gave me my Living Legend Award um, at the gymnasium, I made a statement and I told the audience that this is just the beginning for Rihanna because she's different to the other artists, all the others that came. Everybody said, well, how you could say something like that? How you would know that? I said, because of the approach that she makes, because of the genuine person that she is, because of her commitment to greatness and to our country. The others were committed to themselves and making money and getting rich and famous. She was committed to different things, to a brand, to a promotion of our country, a promotion of Barbadiana. You know, so even though she wasn't singing Hamilton, she was singing songs, and the rhythm and the feel underneath had a lot of Barbados in it. But people don't miss that because they don't listen to the back, listen to the front, they listen to the vocals and the bass and some other little thing going on. But all the time I'm hearing these rhythms coming, and I'm saying, this girl is smart. If you strip that music and take the voice out, you are hearing genuine, authentic, creative stuff that came over this country.
I agree with you, Gabby, and because we only got one more minute after this, but it disgusted me to see some of the comments on Facebook. But to the people who like to pull down, I would like to say to you, it takes a strong person to lift and a weak person to pull down. And people who pull people down are very weak, and normally they're very miserable and very sad in their own lives, and that's why they do what they do. And so about lifting people up. And to those who lifted Rihanna up, much respect. To those who like to pull down, I feel sorry for you because you don't know any better. I want you to wrap up in 1 minute.
Joanne, let me interrupt you quickly. Rihanna's father is like my brother, right outside of Rihanna. Right, I hear from him at least once a week. Right now he's in Africa.
He's in Tanzania,
and we talk all the time. Right? Yes. And he, you know, he send me pictures, he send me this and that. Some of the clothes you see me wear, he would buy. I said, Ron, I want something from Africa. Man, Gabby, what are you asking for? She said, I don't buy that already. Right? So, you see, there's a connection there. I am not saying this because he is my friend. There is something special about that man that a lot of people already proved for a long time, and they understand that he had a problem that he had to resolve, and once he resolved it, he became who he wanted to be all the time, right? And I'll tell you something. Rihanna loves the dirt that man walked on.
Of course she does.
Many pictures he sent to me, but he told them that nobody else ever saw. Some pictures that only me saw, right? And you could see the love and the feeling that she has for her mother, Monica, and her father, Ronald. Right? I'm telling you. And she has that same love for this country. Right? So when people go, oh, Rihanna is rich and she this and that, a lot of it is envy, jealousy. God, young people, a lot of jello. A
lot of jello. I told young people the same here, but guys, we got to wrap up. But I agree with you. And Ronald, if you are watching, because I know we not as often as you, but I told him about his show. He told me about his. Yeah. So he's got some Caribbean, something that's going on too. So I said, you come on my show, I'll go on his. But we both can go on his show. But I want to thank you,
Yeah.
Gabby, so much for joining us. We do have to go because you know of time. But I can message you and keep sending me them WhatsApps or them songs. I miss them bad.
All right, Joe, don't worry. I got some coming. I am 135 poems away from 2000 in the last, since
Wow.
2017 till now, right? Last
Okay.
5 years. So that's cool.
Wow, thank you
You
so
know,
much. Thank
you're
you,
welcome.
Gabby. That was Dr. the Most Honorable Anthony Gabby Carter, Cultural Ambassador. We'll be back after the break. Welcome back to Face It and Fix It. I want our viewers to please pay close attention to this photo. To our listeners, we might not be able to describe it as much as we would like to. This is a picture of Michael Bellamy. He seems pretty young. I don't have his age here with us, but the WhatsApp came in and we have an official bulletin on CBC TV's page. He has been last seen 5 p.m. yesterday. If anyone knows the whereabouts of young Michael Bellamy, please call Amanda Brewster at 263-8730. 263-8730. Now that's a WhatsApp that came into us. Of course, this went to CBC probably via the police. And again, I just want to repeat it. If you could put it back up again, producer, a picture of this young boy. He looks no more to me than 7, 8 years old. His name is Michael Bellamy. He hasn't been seen since 5 p.m. yesterday. If anyone knows the whereabouts of young Michael Bellamy, please call Amanda Brewster, 263-8730. To his parents, I pray that you find him quickly. To the police, to the Barbados Police Service. This is a question I had last week and fitting now. What is the procedure when someone is missing? How fast do you bring out the troops? Your resources somehow varies from time to time, and I would like to know what it is. The public would love to know what is the procedure when we need to report someone missing. How many police officers, BDF people come out? He was found. Oh, good. News is coming in. He was found. Thank you so much to whoever it is that he is safe and he was found. Now I do have to sign off. Again, young Michael Bellamy has been found and he is home safe and sound with his family. My name is Joanne Haigh. This has been Face It and Fix It. We'll join us again on Monday. And we're hoping to have the Minister of Education. We'll let you know, hopefully over the next couple of days, if she will be with us. Thank you. Stay safe. God willing, I'll see you again.